During the set, the producer noted the lack of any recovery moments. No missed beats, no vocal cracks, no stage mishaps. When a technical cue failed, the group adjusted on the fly, preserving the harmonic structure while shifting a synth line to a lower register. That level of composure was described as performing under pressure without the audience noticing the pressure. The producer later wrote a short memo to his peers that read, in part, "When you sit in a room of seasoned scouts, the most telling signal isn't the volume of the applause. It's the absence of hesitation. This group handled a high-stakes set as if they had already been on this stage for years. That's not luck. It's a systematic approach to preparation and a respect for the environment they're in." That memo, though never published, circulated among booking agents and brand partnership managers. It has since become a reference point in meetings that decide whether an act gets a slot at a summer festival, a partnership with a fashion house, or a joint venture with a regional streaming service. What this means for 2027, 27:15. Looking ahead, the metrics that once seemed peripheral are now front and center in strategic planning. Ticketing firms are negotiating multi-city tours that include arenas in the United States and stadiums in Japan, banking on the data that shows the act can sell out a 10,000 seat venue after a single show. Record labels are lining up joint releases that pair the group with local producers from each target market, reducing the risk that a purely translated single will flop. Investment analysts have begun to list the act's brand value alongside legacy artists, citing a reliability score that is derived from three pillars: consistent streaming growth, proven live performance stability, and a fan community that self-organizes across time zones. If the next year follows the trajectory of the past, we should expect a full-scale North American tour with stops in Secunda. The chart presence of a 2025 single in a market known for its cautious approach to foreign pop was an early indicator that the act's appeal could travel beyond the obvious pathways. By 2026, playlists that focus on indie global had begun to feature the group's slower ballads, and fans in the region were sharing covers that referenced local slang. That organic diffusion, without a paid push, underscores a key metric that senior label analysts monitor: the ability of an act to embed itself in playlists that are curated by human editors rather than algorithmic bots. Europe, 1810. European markets typically exhibit a slower adoption curve for Asian pop, but the data from 2026 points to a growing undercurrent. The United Kingdom's reaction channels on a video platform posted a series of analyses that broke down the act's vocal layering and rhythmic syncopation, a level of technical dissection not usually seen for a foreign act. In Germany, a regional festival's lineup included a surprise guest spot, and ticket sales for that stage sold out within an hour. French streaming platforms recorded a 23% increase in the act's weekly listeners after a collaborative single with a local indie producer was released in the summer. These incremental movements add up, and they are the kind of data that a boardroom committee looks at when assessing whether to commit to a full-scale European tour in 2027. The global map, 2000 hours. If we plot the activity across the 10 regions, a clear hierarchy emerges. The Philippines remains the dominant zone, where the act's base is both a cultural reference point and a revenue engine. The United States, Canada, and the Middle East form an exploding zone, each showing measurable spikes in streaming, live show demand, and social engagement. Japan, Taiwan, and China sit in a tightly linked cluster that balances algorithmic exposure with grassroots fan activity. Singapore, New Zealand, and the emerging European markets act as the connective. A partnership with a mainland producer on a remix that merged a traditional Chinese instrument with the group's signature synth-driven chorus sparked a sudden surge in user-generated content across platforms that are heavily censored, yet algorithmically powerful. Within days, short clips of the remix were shared across a social network whose user base exceeded 300 million. Fan-made dance videos, often shot in cramped apartments, amassed millions of views, and the song quickly rose to the top of a streaming chart in a region that rarely showcases foreign pop groups. The speed of that uptake demonstrates a different growth model, one driven by algorithmic amplification rather than the traditional word-of-mouth fan tours. For market analysts, that model is valuable because it can be measured in real time, offering a clear indicator of consumer willingness that can be fed into revenue projections. Singapore, 1520. Singapore has long served as a cultural crossroads in Southeast Asia. In 2026, the city-state became a regional amplifier, with streaming data showing the act appearing in the top 5 most played tracks in the country's primary music service. The group had previously included a stop in Singapore on their 2024 tour, but the city's infrastructure, state-of-the-art venues, a robust gig economy, and a multilingual fan base allowed the act to turn a single stop into a cascade of playlist placements and micro-event promotions. The strategic importance of that moment lies in Singapore's role as a logistics hub for touring. When a show sells out in Manila and the next leg is scheduled for Jakarta, a well-timed Singapore stop can provide the crew with essential technical support and the promotional push needed to secure bookings in surrounding markets. In the Gulf region, the data was even more striking. A series of releases in 2026 placed the group among the top streamed acts in 2 countries that together host over 100 million internet users. Playlists curated for that market featured the act alongside Arabic-language pop, demonstrating an algorithmic willingness to cross-culture. Fan-generated lyric videos in Arabic and Persian amassed millions of views, and demand for live performances grew so quickly that promoters began negotiating arena dates for 2027. What made this surge noteworthy was the sustained nature of the audience. Unlike a one-off spike, the streaming numbers held steady across months, and the demographic data showed a broad age range, not just the typical teenage base that many short-term viral acts attract. This is a factor that investment committees consider when evaluating whether to allocate capital to a tour or a joint venture. Japan, 1030. Japan is often the litmus test for any Asian act that wishes to move beyond regional popularity. In 2026, the group became the first act from the Philippines to chart on the Oricon Weekly Album Ranking, and the placement was not a one-off novelty. Their visual aesthetics, sharp, color-coded wardrobes, synchronized hand gestures, and a stage design that echoed a long-standing performance tradition, earned them invitations to appear on a televised music program traditionally dominated by domestic idols. Industry veterans in the room noted how the group approached the performance with a disciplined mindset, focusing on precision rather than spectacle. Their vocal delivery maintained tight harmonic blends even when the arrangement shifted to a more aggressive beat, a quality that stands out in a market where many acts rely heavily on auto-tune. The response from record label executives in Tokyo was less about applause and more about written evaluations, pages of notes detailing the act's ability to adapt to a new production culture without. What set this release apart was not the production alone. It was the way the songs were packaged for digital platforms. Short, kinetic visual loops that could be repurposed on a global stage. Lyrics that referenced the modern migrant's quest for opportunity, the freedom of a swipe, the hashtag of a generation. When those songs were paired with user-generated challenges on a short-form video service, the algorithm amplified them beyond the borders of Manila. Home base, 330. The Philippines remained the core of the movement. For years, the group, originally known for polished choreography and a disciplined vocal blend, had already broken new ground as the first Southeast Asian act to receive a Billboard nomination. In 2026, the domestic market didn't just sustain that status, it amplified it. Every new single appeared on the top 10 of streaming charts, every teaser trended for days, and every local appearance sold out venues that had previously hosted only regional headliners. This relentless home base energy served as the launch pad for the act's worldwide expansion, providing both the data and the confidence to approach markets that had previously been closed. The United States, 515. The United States is traditionally the most guarded market for Asian pop acts. Earlier exposure had come in the form of a televised segment on a morning network, but it was the 2026 viral dance edit that pushed the group into the mainstream. A 15-second clip of a dance move from Emoji began circulating among creators with millions of followers, and the choreography quickly became a staple on a popular fitness channel. Within weeks, reaction videos were dominating a platform's trending page, and a handful of independent musicians were posting covers that garnered as many views as the original release. What caught the attention of industry scouts was not the noise, but the engagement depth. Viewers were not merely watching. They were analyzing the vocal timing, the rhythmic layering. This is the quiet, unseen takeover. There was no single breakthrough moment that dominated headlines. Instead, there were thousands of data points, streams, chart positions, sold-out show reports, viral cover videos from dozens of cities that collectively rewrote their narrative. By the close of 2026, SB19 was no longer a group seeking global validation. They were operating with the authority of a group that had already earned it, market by market, continent by continent. The world didn't just notice them. It quietly, permanently, made room for them. Final visual, the animated world map from the beginning, now fully lit across all highlighted zones, with the text Established Presence, 2026 appearing. The lights hold, steady and unwavering. Narrator. The story of 2026 is the story of infrastructure built not by a corporation, but by a culture. A fan culture, an artistic culture, and a business culture that finally understood its value. The map is no longer a prediction. It is a report. And the report says, they are already here. And fourth, the fandom as a decentralized distribution network. The A's, SB19's fandom, is not just a support system. It is a global, organized, and relentless promotional engine. Their efforts in content creation, translation, streaming parties, and local fan event coordination create a grassroots amplification that no label budget can replicate. They don't just consume content, they manufacture reach. Visual, a montage of high-energy SB19 performance clips from various 2026 events, intercut with fan-organized streaming party screenshots and multilingual fan art. Narrator. This leads to the pivotal, underlying question. Is this a pop phenomenon, or is it a structural shift? The 2026 map suggests the latter. SB19 is not merely competing within the existing global pop framework dominated by K-pop and Western acts. They are carving a new lane, a P-pop global model that leverages digital-first, fan-powered growth, culturally specific storytelling, and strategic market sequencing. They are proving that a group can build a massive international footprint from a non-traditional music industry hub without sacrificing its core identity. The implications for 2027 and beyond are direct. This established global footprint fundamentally alters their leverage. Touring discussions now include legitimate venue sizes in multiple territories. Collaboration offers will come from artists and producers who have seen the data, not just the hype. Brand partnerships will view them not as